There's only one action in the description here in Luke, and it's fascinating. Only one action. He talks about their hypocritical attitude. They like to walk around in long robes, love greetings, etc., chief seats. Very proud, self-serving, self-righteous. There's only one sinful act here. They devour widows' houses. This is the only specific sin of action. Katastheo, consume, plunder, eat up. How bad was this religion? It had descended to the place where the people in charge were getting rich at the expense of the most defenseless people. That's how corrupt Judaism was. So far from the heart of God. The heart of God throughout the whole Old Testament was to care for the poor, right? What does James 2 say? Pure religion undefiled is to care for the widows, orphans. This is the heart of God, tender, compassionate. This looks at the apostasy of Judaism, not theologically, but practically. This is where their theology led them. To become fat, isolated, self-serving, spiritual hypocrites who were getting fatter and building their religious empire on the backs of the most beleaguered, defeated, and defenseless. By the way, in their system, if you were a widow, it was because there was sin in your life and you were being punished by God. That was the system. And if you were a woman on top of that, you were also a second-class citizen to start with. So they looked on widows as the lowest, treated them with disdain. They devour widows' houses, and at the same time make these long prayers for appearance sake, spiritual frauds. These will receive greater condemnation. And then the next passage just shakes us. He looked up. I'll give you a first lesson in Bible exegesis. What does that tell you? He looked up. It tells you that he had been looking down. Good, class. You're on your way. If you put the whole picture together from the Synoptic Gospels, he's weary. It's been a hard week, a long week. He has just spewed out this diatribe recorded fully in Matthew 23. Pulled at and pushed by the crowd all day, teaching relentlessly. He's weary. His heart is grieved. When he first came into the city, you remember on Monday, what did he do? He wept. He wept. He's brokenhearted. He cleaned the temple the day before. He's come to the end of the day. He knows they're not going to accept him. It's over. He knows that. He knows the fickle crowd will follow their leaders. He told them, beware. They won't. When the leaders stir them up, they'll say, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. And they'll all go to hell with their leader. And so he finds a place to sit. Matthew tells us, in the area of the temple treasury, which is the court of the women, the large court, where he would be teaching, because that's where men and women and even strangers could be. And he sits down. And he's weary. And he looks up. And this is where the 13 trumpet-shaped receptacles were, where people came and put their money in. Of course, the Pharisees did that. Matthew 6 said they had somebody blow a trumpet to announce their arrival. Put their philanthropy on display. And he watched the rich putting their gifts into the treasury. And Mark says, Mark 12:41, they put in large amounts. This is what the system demanded. It's what it demanded. You purchase your redemption by your alms. And the purveyors of that religion were getting rich. And then he saw a certain poor widow putting in 2 small copper coins. Lepta. 132nd of a denarius. Smallest coin the Jews used. They didn't like to use Roman coins because they saw them as idols. It had Caesar's face on them. But they had Jewish coins, 2 little pennies. 2 small copper coins. And he said, he's talking to his disciples now. They've left the city. They went out the gate. They're just walking away from the temple. Magnificent. Gold everywhere. Overlaying this magnificent Herodian temple that had been under construction 50 years. The symbol of this rich religion. And they walk out. But before they walk out, Jesus notices this. And he says to them, I say to you, this poor widow put in more than all of them. For they all out of their surplus put into the offering, but she out of her poverty put in all that she had to live on. Now, how many sermons have you heard on this story and then somebody takes the offering? Right? Oh, Lord, may we learn from the widow. Let me tell you. What's going on here? You say, well, this is the principle of sacrifice. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you're going to say this is a giving principle, here's the principle. Give 100% of what you have and go home and die. It's a principle. It's what she did. Well, it says she put in all she had to live on. The Greek says she put in all her life. That was it. And went home to die. And he's basically saying, you know, the people who have more, they give out of their surplus. When she's done giving, she's got nothing. So if this is a lesson on giving, the only lesson that I can see here that's obvious is give everything and go home and hope somebody comes to your door with more. Or die. I don't think that's biblical. You say, no, the lesson here is she had a really good attitude. Really? Where's that? In the white space? Where's that? Where does it say anything about her attitude? It doesn't say a word about her attitude. What do you mean? It says it doesn't say anything about her attitude. It's a poor widow, put in more than everybody else, relatively, because she put in everything she had. 100%. Doesn't say a word about her attitude. Other people say, well, you know, the principle of giving here, it's not how much you give, but how much you have left when you've given. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that at all. Can I encourage you a little bit? There is no principle here. There's no principle for giving here at all. None. None. So take that out of your sermon repertoire and your offering talk. This is not a principle of giving. Is this a context? All of a sudden Jesus is talking about, I'm bringing judgment on you, beware of the scribes and Pharisees, and oh, by the way, this nice little lady rolls through and drops in a few coins. Now some words on giving. Come on. I mean, that would be where Baptist offerings were born. You know, you can be preaching damnation, but you always stop in a few words about giving, right? Well, Jesus is no Baptist evangelist here trying to take his own love offering. And there's no principle for giving here. I'm saying, nor do the disciples say, well, what are you trying to tell us, Lord? What are you trying to tell us? Take all our money and go run over there? We'll follow her, Lord. Here we go. Hey, who's got the money? Judas used to have the money, but he's gone. No, he still had the money. He was still there. Hey, Judas, go take all our money over there and dump it in. Is that what we're supposed to do, Lord? And then just, die or hope somebody shows up and gives us more money? We're supposed to make ourselves burdens for other people? There's no principle. They don't ask any questions. They get it. Jesus didn't commend her. He didn't say he was proud of her. He didn't say she had a good heart. He didn't say she had a bad heart. He didn't say she had a good attitude or a bad attitude. He didn't say anything about it. What he said was this: Judaism is so corrupt, it devours widows' houses, and here's an illustration. Here's an illustration. The woman, destitute, is so desperate that she'll give her last cents trying to purchase favor from God. This is the birth of the prosperity preachers. And Jesus pronounced damnation on them. Woe to you who build your personal fortune on the backs of the destitute and the desperate, with promises of success, prosperity, health, wealth, if they send you their money. This is tragic.